Hello and welcome to Breakfast Central. It's Wednesday and we are indeed back again on your TV screens. My name is Joe Hansen.
My name is Olive Emodi. We're glad to be here. Thank you for starting the day with us. It's the midweek edition of Breakfast Central, and for the next 3 hours, we'll be taking a tour around Nigeria, bringing you the biggest stories. And we're beginning this morning with Onitsha, I believe.
Absolutely. But right before we begin with Onitsha, we must applaud where work is being done. We must always give credence to listenership and the ability to listen. And I want to say so because Lagos State is starting to become, to get lit. We can see the street lights, they're being mounted. The government is working hard to ensure that the dark spots become brighter. But not all areas have experienced it. But this morning I was shocked. To see some areas on the island, the lights were up, and I said, okay, this is good. So, like where I come from, they say when you do good, of course, you receive the commendation. When you also act poorly, you receive of course, you know what it is. So, keep it up, and kudos to Lagos and Lagos State government for listening, because we've screamed here non-stop, including Benga Borowa, happens to be a co-anchor. He had a report where he toured around Lagos and showed how dark Lagos really is. And it seems like the impact of that report and other comments across board has helped the government to indeed sit up. And that's what we talk about it whenever we say you need to call the government to order, especially speak truth to power. And that's what we're here to do. Not to criticize overly all the time, but to also commend. And we're starting the show to say, well done, Lagos State. Thank you so much for listening to the calls and the cries of the people about how dark the state is. The next step will now be for Lagos State to work hard on ensuring that the potholes are indeed sorted out and the roads and the construction are indeed done on time. Hopefully, those on Lekki-Ekpe Expressway will be able to manage the traffic. Also, the Lagos-Calabar road is a good one because it's helping everyone who passed through that entire stretch to be able to manage themselves, avoid too much traffic or staying in traffic. If you're on the Lekki-Ekpe corridor, you can move to the coastal road, and that will also help. But then again, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We just had to start on that good note because, like they say, when it's good, and we will do our job as media practitioners to applaud as soon as we can.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you started on that note. Yep. We look forward to seeing more streets being lit. We want Lagos, a properly lit Lagos. But now let's move away from Lagos to a conversation that began yesterday here on Breakfast Central. The Onitsha Main Market was barricaded on Tuesday by heavy deployment of police, military, and other security agencies, enforcing a one-week closure ordered by Anambra State Governor Professor Chukwuma Soludo after traders defied the government's directive to reopen on Mondays amid a prolonged sit-at-home imposed by non-state actors in the southeast. The closure followed the governor's on-site inspection of the market on Monday, where he announced the shutdown after market leaders and traders refused to resume business despite repeated government assurances and security guarantees aimed at restoring normal economic activities disrupted by the sit-at-home, originally linked to separatist agitation and threats of violence. Security personnel supported by armored personnel carriers and patrol vehicles sealed all entry points, keeping shops locked and restricting movement as traders gathered around the area. Governor Soludo warned that the closure could be extended to 1 month if compliance fails, describing the sit-at-home as economic sabotage that cost Anambra about 8 billion naira weekly and the Southeast 19.6 billion naira, insisting the enforcement is a protective measure to safeguard lives and revive the state's economy. Meanwhile, there have been protests against this closure, this market closure by the governor. Let's take a look at some of the clips from Onitsha Main Market.
He's another Savior. Holy, holy. He's another
commander is here, Achede, and so on. This whole area, we're going to cordon it off in the first instance for the first 1 week. If we come on Monday and it is locked and any shop is not, we'll lock it for 1 month. No, no, even now, only choice of your beer, only choice of your now. Are you hearing me? Only choice of your making it or now.
For those who don't understand what was said, he said in Igbo that anyone who doesn't want to sell in the market must go. Only choice Rafia or now. Okay, we began this conversation yesterday and we have the former National Publicity Secretary for Hanes Ndigbo joining us to talk about it. And we will share our perspectives. I think we should share our opinions and then I'll go on X. And my opinion still stands. It's still the same thing I said yesterday. So now we hear that the market has been shut, heavy security personnel barricading entrance into the market, that there are people who tried to enter into the market and were unable to enter into the market. Now my question is, when the sit-at-home enforcers were attacking in Anambra, where were those security personnel? I will not say in any way, shape or form that I'm in support of sit-at-home. As a matter of fact, Nnamdi Kanu himself has decried the sit-at-home order before now. So I will not say in any way that I am supportive of that. However, what I am prioritizing is the safety of the lives and the businesses of Anambra. So when these sit-at-home orders were, the sit-at-home order was being enforced, when people were being attacked for going to the market on Mondays, their businesses were being vandalized for going to the market on Monday, where were these armored tankers and armored carriers and security personnel? The same position that I held yesterday is the same position that I'm going to hold today, which is that it's one thing for you to say people should return to the market, but you cannot force people in a sense. One, how do you find the thin line between you exercising your right to protect citizens and being an actual autocratic ruler? I can decide that I have worked all weekend. I know the salon where I get my nails done, they work every day of the week except on Mondays because they feel like weekends are usually heavy. So if I had a nail business, I've worked Friday, Saturday, Sunday in Onitsha Main Market. And Monday is the day my staff and I go to rest because our clientele have started the week. They don't come to the salon on Mondays. Is it within your power to insist that I must show up at work? That's one. Is he not overstepping his boundaries as a governor? And then the second thing is, if you ask citizens to come to work, how are you guaranteeing their safety? Are you assuring them that none of them will lose their lives, that none of them will have their businesses vandalized? What is the concrete plan? It's not enough to say everybody should come back. What is the measurable steps that have been put in place? Will you say, okay, within every 100 square kilometer of the market, we have so and so personnel in terms of police, Epubagu, and all the people that have been put there to ensure that they can withstand or resist whatever external forces will come to impose a sit-at-home order? These are my two arguments. So I'm not saying sit-at-home is good or sit-at-home is not good. What I'm saying is, regardless of your intentions, you cannot strip citizens of their right to decide whether or not they want to go to the market. Two, you must be able to guarantee their safety and security. And if you cannot do that, you can't force them to risk their lives. The representative from Hanes Ndigbo yesterday was saying, well, he's not a representative, the former publicity secretary was saying that if they come out in numbers, it'll be harder for the sit-at-home people to enforce it. So I should come out in my numbers. And then when they come, maybe they will start from my shop that is at the entrance of the market. Then before they get to middle, they will have been able to withstand them, but there'll be casualties. So these people who are insisting, will they come and stay with the people in the main market? All these leaders, they should come and stay with them in the main market.
It's a good one, Olive. I think you've touched on all the very key points, and the key points have been highlighted, especially from your second key point, if I pick it from there. And I think the way the governor has gone about it, Professor Charles Chukwuma Soludo, former CBN governor as well, I think the way he has gone about it has not been 100% apt. And why we say so is, I mean, we're not here every now and then in the morning to chastise, criticize, and tell government officials how to do their job. That's not our job. Our job simply is to point to loopholes, especially when things aren't going well or are not in accordance with the Constitution. However, in this instance now, you've broken it down. And I think as a governor, our leaders and politicians should, I said this yesterday, they need to understand that they are governing over people who are more in numbers than they are in power. There's this notion that, oh, as long as I have the staff, I can command and wield it whichever way I choose, and therefore the sheep must bow to me whenever I tell him to do so. But another question is, if you beat a sheep so much, what happens to that sheep? It runs away. It becomes rebellious at a certain point, even though we know that a sheep is meant to be meek. So my point is, I think dialogue would have been the best way. Call the council people in the market. Every market, especially in the East. It was even the Easterners that came to Lagos, that's what I learned, that also amplified this thing about market heads, all of that, because it's so predominant in the East there. Remember that the Easterners are used to the boy and Oga, you know, the what was that thing called? Where they train you. Master, so they teach you. So they know these
I've
things.
forgotten what it's called.
I'm sure our viewers understand what we're saying.
Apprenticeship.
So, apprenticeship. So I think he would have been able to say, okay, everybody come, let's talk. I need you guys to resume.
What do we need to do?
I can guarantee you that these people, if they start with the governor, will have highlighted this issue of how about our lives? What do we do?
And then the governor will share what.
And then he'll say, okay, fine, what do we do? Have your security chief sit down there with you, and then he can suggest and say, okay, we'll get back to you. And when you get back to them, listen, we're going to provide you the same security that you put there, the armor tanker you put there, is what you would have put for them, and put police officers who are now chasing them away, put them their station and tell them, listen, these guys are there for you. Feel free to resume. They will patrol, there will be a patrol Okada or this that will go around the market. At least let's do this consistently for 6 full months. We need you to activate and start selling. Trust me, we've just said a little here.
That's a very good point.
Everybody in that market will feel safe. Imagine just sitting down and then you have security men passing and telling you, how is everybody doing? Is there any issue? Then put a phone number they can dial quickly if there's any issue. Then as a governor, don't just add, he just got to the market just recently and then he had that conversation with them. At some point in time, visit the market in that 6 months, maybe intermittently. Let them see the governor, know that, this man is the man we voted for.
Let's not go too far.
He's
Remember
really
when the attacks happened in Borno State? The governor went and sat with the people against advice. It's one thing for you to give an order, right, and hand down an order, that's a security person.
Yeah.
But that's because the market is deserted.
That was yesterday.
In a deserted market. So I want to give a message.
Stop them from opening
yes. I want to give a message to Anambra State government. Now, no one is saying that the sit-at-home order is good. No one is applauding. Well, maybe there are some. But from what we see, the majority of the populace want to get back to work. We see what it's doing, how much Anambra's, how much the economy is losing. We see what sit-at-home is making Anambra citizens lose in terms of finances. However, whilst what Governor Chukwuma Soludo might have in his heart might be good intentions, they're not carried out in the best way. As a governor, you have the right to determine when people must and must not open their shops. Does that not mean that you're stripping them of their rights as citizens? As a business owner, you should be able to decide when you want to open your store and when you don't want to open your store, especially because they're not working for the government. Now, we heard about civil servants and their salaries being prorated, and that we can completely understand because these ones are working for the government. So his ability to wield that sort of command ends with the civil servants, not with private business owners who are hustling to pay their bills every day. So that's one. The second bit is, if you ask them to come back to the market, can you guarantee their safety and security? Rather than coming out to put out these laws, show the path, show measurable outcomes, efforts that has been put to provide security for the Anambra. That's what we're saying. As opposed to wielding influence or trying to give out law like you're an autocratic ruler.
Let's see what Nigerians are saying. I also feel that
I think we should start from his son first.
There's a statement he made that I think we want to be very mindful, especially if you have attained the level of a leader. That statement was said if they do anyhow.
He said even if he doesn't mind leaving it short to the end of the year.
That's one. He said he would lock it to the end of the year. That's statement number one, which I don't think it's a good statement to make. Number two, you said you even destroy the entire market.
It feels like a power play.
And these are people have lost their lives because of this sit at home. So it should come from a place of empathy. Understanding, shrouded with empathy, so that you can feel the people and say, okay, let me help you so you can get back up. But,
all right.
But anyway,
and you can go on YouTube and stream live. Yeah. We're streaming live. Drop your comments in the chat box on YouTube. But I believe we have, as we're taking what Nigerians are saying, I think we should start from his son. So his son, Onitsha Soludo, had put up a message. He said, do you guys want dedicated Monday sit-at-home content to make your sit-at-home a little more vibey? Because that's the best I can do. Now, when he put that was the initial post, and people went into the comment section to troll and drag him. So he went and put this update because he said sending him messages to his father. So he said, updates. I post and you all let me know what is happening, but my stance is always the same. Even though a lot of times I agree with you, I am not ever in support of any kind of a dictatorship or leaders who impose themselves on the people, but my stance still remains. I am not an extension of the government. I am not a mouthpiece or a representative of the government. So if you want to lay out your grievances in my comments, that's fine, but that still remains a long shot from the resolution that you seek. And he puts this very interesting photo.
Yeah. Anyway, I think people were going to attack him on
yes, they were.
Media
that was why he had to update it and add that caveat.
I must say, I really appreciated his statement. I mean, it's a mature statement in some way. I mean, if that was PR, that's good PR. Like, hey, listen, okay, what do you want Monday content? Listen, I'm not indirectly was saying, take me out.
Also,
expunge me
in a way. So some initially interpreted that to mean that he's downplaying the essence of the sit-at-home, that he's trivializing it because he doesn't understand how they got there. It's why he put up that update. But from that update, you can tell he's not in support of what his father is doing. But
at the same time,
see if he's the only one.
Support. Anyway, that's the statement. But like I said, I applaud that statement because at some point, if you read it carefully, in other words, he's saying, listen, just take me out of this entire thing. I'm here to do content. You want content? I can give you content to help you enjoy your Monday. But don't, Anyway, let's see what Nigerians are saying very quickly. On X, Nigerians are reacting to what's happening in Anambra State very quickly.
And there's been a lot of pushback. Do we have tweets, please?
Let's see. We've got one
All
or
right,
two
it seems
tweets.
we don't have tweets. We'll move on to the next story. But let me take comments from YouTube.
Go ahead.
Prince Ajibade says, Soludo is an arrogant man. How can you tell a private business owner when to open their shop and when not to? I can decide to open my shop just on Wednesday. How's that his business? Soludo should go and open a shop in the market and be there on Monday with the traders. It's only on law-abiding citizens that they exercise their power. Go and deal with powers. Go and deal with the criminals and the unknown gunmen, he says. Again, this just further buttresses the reactions that we've been seeing on social media. Just to point out, we are not saying here that we're in support of people sitting at home and enforcing sit-at-home order. We're just saying that whatever the decision is being made, it must be for the greater good, and there must be as little as possible casualties. The Anambra don't have to be the casualties for ending this. Many say that the sit-at-home order started by violence and must be ended with violence, and we completely disagree. It can be ended with the government putting its money where its mouth is and sharing with citizens what has been done to protect citizens. But I don't know if we have tweets on that. If not, let's move on to our next story. All right, we have tweets. Anarchy looming. Soludo should have handled this differently. It goes on to say, can't force people when and how to open their businesses. You can do that to schools and banks, but not businesses. That doesn't benefit anything from you as a government. Not security, not loans, no support. Rather, you are the one taking from them. Okay, Belgium says. I thought a professor governor would know better and do better. Sadly, it's still the same story. Just yesterday, I quoted Albert Einstein. We cannot solve a problem with the same mindset that created it. All right? That's from Aneke Jude. Telling them not to obey sit at home, but making them sit at home. Confused government. This was my exact point. You tell them not to sit at home on Monday, and then for the whole week, you then ban them being able to go into the market. Big Emmy now says, but he can't deploy them on a Monday to make them feel safe to come out and do business. And this is in respect to the security operatives in that marketplace. Well, keep your comments coming. We're streaming live on YouTube, News Central Live, New Central TV Live is where the comments are
All right,
at.
let's move on to our next story because of time. We need to speed things up. President Bola Tinubu briefly stumbled on Tuesday during an official welcome ceremony at the Turkish Presidential Palace in Ankara shortly after arriving for a state visit to Turkey, or Türkiye. The incident occurred as he walked alongside the Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan moments after alighting from his official vehicle and during the rendition of the national anthems of both countries. The president appeared to miss a step, but was promptly assisted by officials and quickly regained his balance, with the ceremony proceeding as scheduled. According to the presidency, the visit is aimed at strengthening Nigeria-Turkey relations, with discussions expected to focus on cooperation in areas including security, education, innovation, aviation, trade, and investment. And there you have it. That's where the president indeed tripped, and not a good sight. But then again, we just want to remind Nigerians that when issues like this happen, we decide on how we tell the narrative. And online, especially on social media, the narrative has been comme ci, comme ça, like they say in French. It's neither here nor there. You have persons stating clearly that this was how the president fell. There are issues of, oh, it's AI, and the issues of, oh no, there was a metal right there and he kicked the metal and fell. Listen, the president is human, and we must take note of that. And any human in any way or any form can at a point in time fall. So it's not, in quotes, a big deal. And I think we should, as well as Nigerians, be mindful of how we handle narratives so that we do not amplify what is not and then lose the focus of what is. And what is that the president also put out a statement yesterday that they've signed a landmark agreement with Turkey to help train the military and the forces in combating nothing more but the major viper, or you'd say the devil in the detail concerning Nigeria's insecurity crisis. And that's exactly a good story. So on the screen there, he did mention, I'm going to read from the third paragraph, better still the second paragraph, a conversation with practical and forward-looking trade and investment, energy, education, defense, cooperation, peace and security, and the creation of a joint economy and trade committee to unlock new flows of capital and deepen Turkish investment in Nigeria. The last paragraph there says, that's penultimate paragraph, I beg your pardon. At the conclusion of our meeting, 9 agreements were exchanged across defense, education, media, diaspora policy, trade, social development, and institutional cooperation between our foreign ministries. We are building an inclusive economy. We're strengthening peace. Nigeria will continue to engage the world with confidence and clarity. Signed, President Bola Tinubu, that's President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So this is what we want to focus on. However,
I mean, regarding his fall, I think the only thing I have to say is anybody can fall.
Of course.
Right? President Tinubu, anybody can miss their step and fall. It can happen to anyone. The reason why we're making a big fuss out of it is because he's the president of the country and because he's much older. Opposition has, criticized this, or they've taken that as a measure of criticism to say he should rather be resting. But the truth is anyone can fall, young or old. If we see through, maybe they talk. But there have been reactions to that as well on X. Let's take some of the reactions on X and then we'll come back to our final story. Someone said, if the cause was indeed the carpet, the responsibility squarely lies with the security team. Knowing the president's physical condition, they should have inspected the walkway in advance. Security is not merely about the visible trappings of black suits and firearms. It is about foresight, prevention, and ensuring the safety of those in their charge. That's a good one. Olufemi Aduwo said. How? So Turkey is to blame? Was the carpet the reason he started darting away from the parade towards his right before he fell? Was the carpet the reason he looked stiff walking as though he needed help? Mr. Spectacular asks. A stumble doesn't define a leader. Age, travel, fatigue, and the unpredictability of life events happen to anyone. Leaders stumble, nations shouldn't. The focus should always be on governance, not momentary optics. Amadou Yahuza says, okay, the mandates where we stand on, they fall. Techman asks, Tinubu fell down in Turkey because he stepped on a metal object, according to Onanuga. Stepped on a metal object, excuse me, at a parade ground that must have been under scrutiny for the past 7 days. This is a very unintelligent and unschooled narrative. Simply admit that he's too weak, sleepy, too fragile, too frail, too tired, too geriatric for such a globe-trotting jamboree. Thank Thank God he didn't say that Tinubu stepped on a screwdriver supplied by Onitsha.
Oh my God.
That says,
during the parade reception isn't the problem. It can happen to anyone at any time. The issue is that his administration has fulfilled the promises he ran with during the campaign season. Hasn't fulfilled the promises he ran with during the campaign season, from addressing the insecurity problem to boosting the economy to benefit Nigerians. You all, as always, choose to focus on the wrong things. He fell, he stood up, but we're still struggling financially and mentally. And I want to say thank you so much, Daniel Rigger, for that highlight.
I agree with this, exactly.
On that note, I'd also want to highlight very quickly that, listen, the president's job is a very tough job. If you think it's a lie, go ask past presidents. They will tell you clearly. I was watching a video of former United States President Barack Obama, and he talked about how tough that role really is, especially being a president of the United States and president of a country, a nation as it were. When Barack was campaigning, if you remember, he looked so young and so on, but that's him also stumbling, tripping on stage. You also have the former president right before Donald Trump, who also, I'm talking about Joe Biden, who also, stumbled and all that. So that's him falling. So it's
but you know, this is your cameraman.
President's fall.
You see what they did here.
He followed this.
He followed his fall.
Okay,
but that's why I will applaud our own whoever filmed.
It was in Turkey. It was
in Turkey. I loved their media team. They were very swift. As soon as the president was falling, if you watch, they switched cameras immediately.
I mean,
so this is
president's
where he was walking. And immediately he fell, they just cut to another shot.
Let me highlight this, Olive, as
the media was the MVP for Misha.
Let's also remember
look at.
Yeah.
Quickly, they moved him.
Yeah. And let me highlight very quickly. The president's job is a tough one, like I've said. Secondly, because of frequent travel, because of frequent dialogue, engagement, and so on, body, no be firewood. So a president would either sleep. We've seen even international presidents sleep. We've seen even our own president sleep. You know, they would sleep off at every slightest opportunity they can get so that they can just catch themselves at least a little. The Aso Rock has its own hospital, has its doctor, has everything. But that wouldn't cut it if the president doesn't rest. And then there are calls that, okay, because the president is aged.
That is the main issue.
He might want to reduce his frequent travels, hand it over to the ministers, the vice president too, which, you know, he covers in some spot, but he should do more. Just
to add to that, you know, what you've pointed out, I think the main issue why Nigerians have made a big deal out of it is, one, because there's an anger about the fact that they feel we have geriatric leaders on the continent, not just in Nigeria. We see a lot of them. We can start to go from country to country, talk about leaders who have been in power for, I mean, very recently we had Yoweri Museveni, who's been in power for how many years?
40 years.
So, and then he's gotten in for another term, even though many have criticized the methods in which he won the election. So it's geriatric leaders, and also the fact that travel has been a major criticism, because they say that our leaders always travel, and they worry about the fact that we have to bear the brunt of it because they're spending so much of our resources on these international trips. But you let us know what your thoughts are. We're still streaming live on YouTube, News Central TV Live. Let's now share with you what the top stories and the headlines are today. Today on Breakfast Central, we're talking about the Onitsha market closure, understanding the perspective of the government and the people and what's to be expected. Senate resumes from recess after a rather long, over 30 days holiday. Congratulations and welcome back. Kogi youths endorsed APC for second term, came together to raise funds for their governor, LIRS, to recover unpaid taxes through banks and others. We'll be bringing the front pages of the newspaper, reviewing it together and taking your calls. Join us for all these and more.
Welcome back. Governor Chukwuma Soludo of Anambra State on Monday ordered the closure of the Onitsha Main Market for 1 week. Traders defied the state's directive to open for business on Monday, continuing to observe the outlawed IPOB sit-at-home order. The governor has described the action as a necessary step to reclaim the state from fear and lawlessness, but critics argue it punishes the very people the government is meant to protect. Take a look.
and so on. This whole area, we're going to cordon it off in the first instance for the first 1 week. If we come on Monday and it is locked and any shop is not, we'll lock it for 1 month. Are you hearing me?
Governor Soludo of Anambra State on Monday ordered the closure of the Onitsha Main Market for 1 week. Traders defied the state's directive to open for business on Monday, continuing to observe the outlawed sit-at-home order. The governor has described the action as a necessary step to reclaim the state from fear and lawlessness, but critics argue that it punishes the very people the government is meant to protect. Joining us now to unpack the rationale behind his decision is the Senior Special Assistant to New Media to Governor Soludo, who is also the National Publicity Secretary of ABGA, Mazi Ejimofo Okpara. Thank you very much for joining us, Mazi Okpara.
New Year.
Happy New Year. It's good to have you.
Thank you for joining us.
It just started that we're having you on very controversial terms. Now, many will argue that what Governor Chukwuma Soludo is doing is akin to cutting your nose to spite your face. And they ask, does the governor have the right to decide and determine that independent business owners not working for the government must show up in the market, regardless of whether they are afraid for their lives or their businesses?
Okay, thank you very much. And let me start from the analogy you gave about cutting the nose to spite your face. I think what the governor is actually doing is actually trying to fix a nose that has been cut so that the face would not continue to suffer some level of spite. Because in the last 5 years in the Southeast, we have come under very intense, if you like, guerrilla attacks by non-state actors who have usurped what you may term as legitimate authority and has governed by fear and terror. And, the state has over time, deployed a lot of other strategies to ensure that legitimate authority is regained and that the confidence of the people is restored. And we're quite very bullish in attacking these non-state actors. And from the reports on ground and the evidence that are available, these particular criminal bodies have been very, very much diminished. And the examples are telltale. But one thing you have to understand is that in their trail, they have left a lot of some kind of fear. They have evoked this fear through unmitigated violence, through a lot of very despicable means. And this was what gave rise to the, like you rightly mentioned, outlawed sit-at-home that has brought about a lot of economic hardship to the people. When people say these things, they think or they forget the bit that this market and the economic activities that are grounded by the infamous and outlawed sit-at-home does not necessarily affect government. No, there's a bit to it that people do not want to talk about. And that's the bit about those who wrestle a livelihood on a daily basis. These are people who, if they don't sell per day, their lives are almost shut down and all that. But this particular set of people or class of people have had their voice over the years drowned by these mammoth, if you like, noisemakers who are trying to impose on others what is legally not permissible. And this is where the government intervention has come in. Now, apart from the economic sabotage that has more effect, more damning effect on these individuals I mentioned, there is a totality of, losses that is incurred, that the state incurs in terms of its perception, in terms of the ease of doing business, in terms of the how do I put it now? The image of the state in attracting credible investment. So the state cannot continue to fold its arms and watch these things go unabated. And this is exactly why the governor, before this order, has engaged in series of dialogue, in series of, if you like, carrot approach, with these marketers, trying to do every bit of what they had wanted or what they had requested of government, which at the heart of it is the provision of life, is the provision of security. Anambra today in the southeast happens to be, one of the safest states in the southeast. And if you look at what happened over the Yuletide, in the last 2-3 Yuletides, Anambra has had a very seamless celebration. And we had, in this last one, millions of people thronging into the state, both indigenous and non-indigenous. And our Christmas celebration happens to be, one of, you can characterize as the most momentous ever in the annals of the state. So you discover that what we are now dealing is some psychological relapse, because like the governor said in the video you played, when an abomination goes beyond a year, it tends to get normalized. But an abomination remains an abomination. And this is where the government intervention on this issue has become quite germane. And what I can tell you for free is that a preponderant number of people you may call the silent masses, the actual marketers that trade in that main market, are in full support of the government. If you look at the interview granted by the chairman of the Market Association, he said it very pointedly that this closure is long overdue. So if you like, what the government is doing currently is what behavioral psychologists will call operant conditioning. Because if you continue to allow this thing to fester, the people will continue to suffer, the image of the state will continue to go down, investments will continue to leave the state, because you are talking about the most productive day of the week being hijacked by, criminals in every sense of it. So who in their own thinking have usurped the right of a legitimate and well-constituted authority? And we say no to it. The state must remain the sole possessor of legitimate authority and force in every society.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I know you've gone ahead to explain a lot, but please, I want us to take it one at a time. And I'd just like you to answer very briefly to the series of questions I just have to ask. Because what we have now is a situation where most people don't have the internal details. And it's our job to bring these details to the people. And that's what we want to do now. So I'm going to start off by asking just a series of questions. I just need your answers as short as possible. My first question is, did the governor meet with the market prior to this decision? Were there previous meetings?
I have just said here in my opening that there were series of meetings with the market leadership. Series of meetings with the market leadership. And like I said, there has been a long, if you like, in the last 3-4 years, there has been this protracted, offering of carrot by Mr. Governor. And like I said, they made their own demands. And at the heart of it is that the state must ensure that the marketers are well and fully protected. And I can tell you that the security architecture in Anambra today, if not the best in the entire country, it's that is now being simulated by sister states in the southeast. So there is no gainsaying that these guys are afraid because they will be hurt if they come out. No, it's no longer about fear. It's about the people relapsing. It's about some psychological relapse now. And the state is taking this action just to jolt them back to reality. Okay,
so we can rightly say that there were a series of meetings.
Yes.
Are there adequate security provided? Is there adequate security provided for these people? If there is, can you tell us what has been done?
I can tell you that in Anambra today we have what you may call a multi-layer security architecture, from the constituted what you may call vigilante. We call them Agune Chamber here. These are the locals who are spread across all the communities, all the cities, all the streets of the state. Gotten from the people themselves. These are people who understand the terrain. You talk about another security architecture that you may call this Anambra State Anti-Touting squad, that are also there to maintain law and order and ensure security. Before you now go into the formal policing structures where you have the police, the civil defense, the military, and all that. So right around every nook and cranny of Anambra, particularly at the heart of Onitsha, where main market exists, there is a preponderant presence of security agencies. both the formal policing structures and the informal policing structures, and all these have been embellished with the ironclad Anambra Homeland Security Law that is guiding their operation. So they can't come up to comfortably or conveniently argue that sufficient security has been provided for them to trade.
All right. If you say that there were meetings had with the leaders in the market, I mean, I can see from here, like you said rightly, that the chairman of the Onitsha Main Market in Anambra State, Chijioke Opalaogo, applauded this and said that this is the way to end the sit-at-home order. Now, if you say that there were a series of meetings, we did see videos of people who went on protest yesterday. Who are these people?
Like I said in my opening, you see, there's this saying in Igbo that even when you cure madness, that it's almost very impossible to also eliminate the nutrients at the same time. So the kind of nutrients that come with madness. So these things are what you saw yesterday are symptomatic of the kind of pervasive harm that the activities of these non-state actors has routed across the Southeast, not just in Anambra. So these persons you see, what the government is doing is actually to save the society from itself, to save people from themselves. These guys you see are largely uninformed, I can tell you, largely uninformed. The actual owners of the market, the actual traders of this market, you can't find them on the street. You can't find them on the street. And as we advance in this strategy, before this particular order elapses by Sunday, you would realize that the actual wheat would have been separated from the chaff, because these persons you see, for want of better word, are just some misinformed young persons who are just trying to there is what I may call the last kicks of a dying horse. So we're getting to the point where there will be very intense psychological orientation, where they will begin to understand that what government is actually doing is in their best interest. But for now, that's what it is.
Regardless of whether or not what government is doing is in their best interest, let's talk about the legality of it or otherwise. Can the government legally insist that people return to the market, especially when these people are not government workers? We hear that the government has decided to prorate the salaries of civil servants, which we can understand because these ones are government workers. But businessmen are not working for the government. They are working for themselves. So can the government legally, one, insist that they return to market? Two, can the government legally, as a punitive measure, shut down the market for 1 week as a result of their refusal to resume in the market on Monday?
Government established or created to do. In society, we have both the formal and informal sector. Maybe the formal sector is what you may directly say, like the civil service and the public service that are under the direct employ of the government. And of course, government as their employer can be able to raise up some kind of strategies and direct punitive measures in checking, some misbehavior or misgivings within them. But also there's the informal sector. And the informal sector is not a lawless sector. So as long as the informal sector exists within the confines of a state that is legally constituted and guided by the rule of law, then of course they also must understand that their misgivings or misbehaviors can also be corrected by the government that they have elected, to provide direction and provide order for them. And at the heart of the Soludo administration, one of the pillars is governance in security, law and order. So there's no way you can have a developed society without order. There's no way you can have a developed society without the laws. So the marketers, yes, they own their businesses, but businesses are even governed by the law. You cannot say you own your shop and therefore you can do as you will in that shop. No. Once you begin to act in ways that contravene or undermine public interest or undermine public peace, government is bound to intervene. So everything the government is doing on the Onitsha Main Market is within the rights of the government, is within the laws, and if they feel substantially injured by the order of the government or what government what government is doing, then the courts are there for them to approach. They can approach the court and seek for redress. But as it were, we are not a banana republic. You don't just wake up and for an order that was given by a in fact, for an order that lacks locus in the first place, coming from an outlawed non-state actor, for it to become the more or less like the lifestyle, the regular, the norm of a people under the watch of a legitimately constituted authority that now more or less amounts to an affront to the authority.
All right, I'm sure that you are aware, and in case you aren't aware, that there's a case in court, and this case was brought up last year in October 2025. I'm just going to read very briefly. It said traders at Udoka line section of the popular Ogbogu drug market in Onitsha, Anambra State have sued the caretaker committee leadership of the market, led by Chukwulota Ndubisi, over unlawful closure of the section of the market. The traders, numbering over 100, brought the matter before the Onitsha High Court during their pre-trial hearing. Now, these are some of the rights they're seeking. They're seeking the enforcement of their fundamental rights to property and dignity and the reopening of their shops closed since August 2024. And they're also claiming the sum of 5 billion naira for damages. They are also seeking several reliefs. They say that there is a declaration that they are seeking a declaration that the closure of the section of the market since August 2024 was illegal, unconstitutional, and in contravention of their fundamental rights to personal liberty and dignity guaranteed by sections 34 and 35 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, as well as articles 5, 6, and 23 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights Ratification and Enforcement Act. And I'm sharing this so you know that we already have a pending case like this. Do you worry about the possibility of this leading to a plethora of court cases against the Anambra State government?
Wonderful. That's the beauty of democracy. That is the beauty of constitutional democracy. You get the point. Like, and for me, I salute the sophistication of the Anambra populace. You know, whatever it is that you must do to enforce your right or get the privileges that are accruable to you as a citizen of the country, that are within your constitutionally approved rights and privileges, go and seek for it. But you, like you rightly said, the matter is still pending in court, and you and I. We're not lawyers. I'm not a lawyer, but we know a few things about the law. That once a matter is pending in court,
you're not a lawyer. I'm a lawyer.
No other person. It becomes sub judice for one to actually talk about it or want to adumbrate in any way around the matter. So they are in court. It's good. Whatever it is that the court decides upon, you know, whether for or against, there are still other avenues, you know, within the law that can be explored to also seek redress, either for the plaintiff or for the you know, the defendants. So whatever it is.
Are you there?
Well, it seems that we seem to be disconnected from your audio. We hope that you can reconnect so we can hear you. There's an audio lag. And on the lighter note, well, you said you are not a lawyer. I am a lawyer. Unfortunately, I'm the only lawyer here. And yes, I recognize that the matter is sub judice. The court has adjourned till the 3rd of February, and there'll be a follow-up in that matter. I'm hoping that we can reconnect with you and have our final thoughts.
Yeah.
And especially looking at what next, what is to be expected. Are you connected with us, Mazi?
Mazi, are you there?
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So if you can hear us, I mean, just one last question from my end. Next week, Monday, will be a huge determining factor because the governor has given till Monday, but build up to Monday when people will open their shops, we've seen protests that started already. So let's see what will happen on Monday. And my comment is not basic, it's not a question. I'm just trying to highlight that we would love to have you back, hoping that Monday this entire problem would have been solved and everybody will return back to their shops and business.
Well, let me also inform you that the market leadership has sought for another meeting with the government, and of course, Governor Soludo is a large-hearted man, you know, driven by empathy, and much as he's empathetic to whatever be the applied right now, but he's also committed to ensuring, you know, law and order in the society. So they have sought for a meeting with government, and that meeting will take place by tomorrow or Thursday. But the market remains short. You know, pending further negotiations. But I can tell you for free that once it has to do with issues of the law and legality and order in society, Governor Soludo is not a man whose resolve should be tested. So if by next week Monday they don't open again, I can bet you that that place will be shut down for the next 30 days.
You know, the governor had also said that he doesn't even mind, if I recall correctly, that the market can be shut till the end of the year if he has to pass across a message to, you know, ensure that this sit-at-home order comes to an end.
Absolutely, and he means every word of that. He means every word. He means every word.
Even the statement of destroying the markets, does it mean that? Huh?
You don't test the result of Soludo. You can ask those around.
But
once it has to do with ensuring law and order, you don't test Soludo's resolve.
You say you don't test Soludo. You sound like you're speaking about an autocratic ruler, like it's not a democratic elected governor that was put there to serve the, if you may please allow me land, that was put there to serve the interest of the people. The governor is there as a chief servant to Anambra, and if he goes there and makes these laws or these decrees, it's not, many would argue that it's not taking into consideration the collateral damage, which will be worse than the initial damage. He made reference to how much is being lost weekly in Anambra to the tune of billions because of sit-at-home order for 1 day. Now he's shutting down the market for 1 week and has said if he has to, he will shut it down for 30 days and even till the end of the year if he has to. So is it really about Anambra, about ensuring we revive the economy of Anambra State? Or is it an ego trip we are seeing at play here? Is this an ego issue?
Like I said, so it's not an ego issue. But let me also tell you that when it has to do with ensuring law and order in society, there's no price too much to pay for liberty. As a matter of fact, if you know these things are like cancer, if you don't treat them at the very heart or root of it, they can metastasize and become very, very troublesome to society. So if you are talking about leadership, a leader must be very assertive and stoic. A leader must be driven by empathy, and which of course the governor has shown a substantial dose of it. Because if you look at today in Anambra State Market, traders who have capital less than 100,000 do not pay taxes. People who sell, artisans, vulcanizers, and all sorts, they do not pay tax. Our tax system in Anambra happens to be one that has the most human face. If you ask me, this is the same. This is still a governor who has provided free education, free and qualitative education for children of these traders and the citizens of the state. This is a governor who has provided free antenatal and free medical, free delivery for pregnant women who are wives to these traders and all that. So if this same governor has this heart to provide this public good, he should also have much more heart to ensure that nothing threatens public good, because you cannot build a society for individuals who are crass. For you to actually have a decent society, it must first be driven by decent humans.
Well, Benjamin Franklin said that it is better for 100 guilty people to go scot-free than for one innocent to be made to suffer. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem like what is happening in Anambra State, because many people are going to be casualties of this war. We hope that it is resolved soon. We look forward to speaking with you again when we hear of the meeting between the market leaders and the governor. We hope that this is resolved for the benefit of Anambra and that we can come to a logical conclusion that benefits all. Thank you so much for your time with us this morning, Mazi Ejimofo Okpara. We look forward to speaking with you again.
Thank you for talking with us. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue conversations this morning. We're looking at issues regarding Senate resuming, and they've been away for a very long time, many would argue. We'll be right back to talk about that in a moment.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Let's tell you that the Nigerian Senate has resumed plenary following the Christmas and New Year recess, with a commitment to fast-tracking pending legislation aimed at addressing the nation's economic and security challenges. The Senate, upon resumption, received 3 letters from President Bola Tinubu, including the request to increase the number of appeal court justices and a major overhaul of the health sector's legal framework. News Central Sagir Ibrahim reports from the National Assembly.
After weeks of recess, the Red Chamber roared back to life on Tuesday.
That will promote the unity, happiness, and prosperity of Nigeria.
President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, set the tone for the new legislative year, highlighting urgent national issues that demand immediate intervention. Key among them, the twin crises of insecurity and looming food shortages. He warned that projections indicate millions could face severe hunger in 2026, hence the need for the parliament to move beyond rhetoric.
As we return We are mindful that events did not pause in our absence, neither must our sense of duty pause. We must also respond with urgency to the warning by the United Nations that as many as 35 million Nigerians may face hunger this year.
Resumption also came with a heavy legislative workload from the executive. President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, read 3 letters from President Bola Tinubu. One, seeking to amend the Court of Appeal Act to increase the number of justices from 70 to 110 and establish an alternative dispute resolution center to decongest the courts. In another correspondence, the President requested the confirmation of Justice Oyewole Kayode to the Supreme Court bench. And finally, the executive forwarded 24 health sector bills for consideration aimed at reforming existing laws and streamlining the Governing Council of Health Institutions, which the presidency describes as over-bloated. Before adjourning to Wednesday, January 28, lawmakers observed a minute of silence in honor of the late Senator Godia Akwashiki.
As the lawmakers resume from recess, their activities are cut out for them. Now, aside the executive bills that's been forwarded by the president, they are expected to deliberate upon key amendments and also key bills, including the constitutional amendment bill, the Electoral Act amendment, which is expected ahead of the 2027 general election, and also the 2026 budget, which is expected to be deliberated upon and passed so as to ensure fiscal responsibility in the year 2026. For now, eyes are on the National Assembly and these senators to see what next steps will be. From the National Assembly, Abuja, for News Central, Sagir Ibrahim.
Well. They had been away for quite a while, and they're back. They were away for how many days, Drew? I think over
30 days.
I think about 35 days.
Yeah,
thereabout.
I mean, they had to enjoy the holiday as well now. Just like everybody was doing Dirty December, they went to do their own, well, not Dirty December, but their own off work holiday. But they're back. That's a good thing. And new president telling them add more justices. Overall, the legal framework of the health sector. Let's wait and see what will happen in terms of transformation. One thing we've noticed is the president has been given directives. He has always given directives, but how these directives are being carried out is another thing that Nigerians wait to see. And the biggest question, Olive, has got to do with the report, a recent report that was done and was launched yesterday. That report is one we're going to discuss here on the program on Breakfast Central. It talks about Nigerians not having the purchasing power any longer.
Yeah.
And it boils down to highlighting what the government is saying and what the people are actually saying and what they are feeling. So is it trickling down, these reforms, these changes? That's a conversation that we should have.
It's not even just about, what the people are saying. It's also about the practicality of what the reality is. So if government says, oh, we're saving this, we've made this, for example, oh, we reached our revenue target and all the likes, how many people have had their salaries increased in the past 6 months? How many people have had their salaries increased? Yet the cost of living, keeps increasing.
The Guardian did the house issue yesterday. The Guardian looked at the front page of the Guardian. We looked at that with our guest here, and it talked about the rising cost of rent. How many people are able to pay rent? How many people are able to move out as we speak now? Because rent is no longer what it was.
No, it's not.
These conversations are what we're going to have as we proceed with most definitely here on Breakfast Central.
Yes, absolutely. But
let's move to our next conversation.
Yeah, this time around, yesterday we played a video, and we should probably, before we come to that video, it was a video that has sparked conversations in Kogi State. We'll share that video with you in a moment. But let's tell you that the federal government says that it is renewing its focus on improving the quality and competence of teachers as a key driver of education reform. At the Nigeria Teachers Summit 2026, policymakers, educators, and development partners met in Abuja to push for a more sustainable and inclusive education system. The summit themed empowering teachers, strengthening the system, a national agenda for education, transformation, and sustainability, is also marking the International Day of Education. Our correspondent, Sumaya Abubakar, reports.
Are you a father?
Have you captured this? Yeah, have you?
We apologize for that. That was, of course, clips from the protest in the FCT. We'll be bringing details about that much later. But now let's move on to Kogi State. At the Muhammadu Buhari Square in Lokoja on Sunday, youths of the All Progressives Congress in Kogi State presented a 100 million naira check to Governor Ahmed Ododo for the purchase of President Bola Tinubu's 2027 re-election nomination form, describing the gesture as an endorsement of the president's leadership and a vote of confidence in his reforms. Led by the president of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, Babangida Onimisi, the youth said the decision was unanimous and aimed at consolidating what they called Tinubu's purposeful and impactful governance, while also pledging support for Ododo's second-term bid in 2028.
Well, let's also tell you that APC leaders at the rally praised both leaders for policies they say have positively affected youths in grassroots communities. But this raises serious questions. In a state grappling, or you could say struggling with youth unemployment, infrastructure gaps, and economic hardship, how did young people mobilize 100 million naira? And more importantly, was this truly a grassroots initiative or a top-down political theatrics? We have our guest who's joining us this morning. We have the Honorable Commissioner for Information in Kogi State, Honorable Kingsley Fanwo, joins us this morning. Good morning to you.
And thank you for having me. Good morning, viewers around the world.
All right. We do hope that the network will be fair to us this morning so we can really have this conversation. Let's start from the basics. 100 million naira. And that's not a small money. So can you tell us exactly how this money was raised? Was it through crowdfunding from the youths, private donors, or state-linked channels? Can you share with us?
Thank you. Let me pick it from where you stopped the other time when you were talking about a state where we have youth unemployment and all of that. I want to tell you that Kogi State is doing far better than most states of the Federation. Because of the heavy industrialization here that have been made possible by the right business environment, a good number of our youths are able to secure gainful employment in most of these industries. Do not forget that the biggest cement factory in the entire African continent is here in Kogi State. You also have Manga Cement. You have a lot of other grade A industries that are in the state. So our youths are gainfully employed. We cannot refer to Kogi State as one of those states where the youth are poor. Then since 2016, you've had youthful people in government, right from the former governor of the state, Alhaji Yahaya Adoza Bello, to the present governor. They've been able to bring a lot of youth to the table of governance to be able to take decisions that will favor the youth. So a lot of our youths are doing great. A lot of them have been empowered in the last 10 years to be able to even bring this money out alone. So what we are saying is that the youths are able to bring these resources together. I asked a few of them, what if the nomination form happens to be more than 100 million? And they said they are ready to give the balance to the president if it's more than 100 million. So Kogi youths are not poor. Kogi youths are doing well. Kogi youths, a good number of them are gainfully employed, and they are doing very well in their businesses because the state government has created an enabling environment for them to try.
All right, Honorable Commissioner, you've mentioned how the state government has empowered Kogi youths in the past 10 years. Can you share with us some of the examples? And I mean, like you said, Kogi State is doing much better than many states. Maybe these can be pointers so that the other youths in the other states can be able to hold their own leaders accountable after seeing what's been done in Kogi State.
Thank you very much. Instead of allowing our youth to be looking for the white-collar jobs, the state government has been able to create what we call the blue and the pink get in the offices. Thousands of our youths have been trained in different trades to be able to fend for themselves, to be job creators rather than job seekers. A good number of them, in their hundreds across the 21 local government, were trained a couple of months ago by the present administration on solar panel installation, fabrication, and lots of other things, plumbing, mechanical works, and all of that. The state government did photography, editing, videography, and all of that. We did not stop at that. After the training, the state government provided their kits that will enable them to be able to start work. The state government also facilitated the registration of their companies through the CAC so that they can start immediately with the capital provided, with the working tools provided, with the legalization of their businesses and all of that. So many of them are doing pretty well today, creating jobs, employing all the youth and training all the youth. So we are creating a chain of prosperity, and that's why we call it the shared prosperity of the present Ahmed Usman Ododo administration.
Okay, shared prosperity, and that's why the youths, because they've been supported by the government, they came out and decided to contribute 100 million naira to tell the president, go ahead and run again. Some have said that the crowd we find in that video, which we'll also put there on the screen, it doesn't look like a crowd that were very excited. But rather, it looked like it was a rent-a-crowd scenario. Can you clear the air on this?
If you are rented, it's very easy to know. People that are hired are not usually enthusiastic. They just come there, while away their time and take the money and go. That's not the case here. You could see enthusiastic Kogi youths. They are enthusiastic because the president has been able to come up with bold policies. You could hear it from the governor's speech. Bold policies that have created the right economic expansion environment that has helped them. So it is quite encouraging to see these youths trying to show gratitude for these policies, and coming out enthusiastically to endorse Mr. President shows that they are grateful. And their decision, like the governor said, was a well-informed decision. Some of them have parents. Their parents are civil servants. Many states in the Federation were struggling to pay salaries. Under the present administration of President Bola Tinubu GCFR, it's easier because more resources are now coming to the state because of the economic policies, especially the removal of fuel subsidy and the refusal of his administration to continue to pretend to be defending the Naira instead of allowing it to fight for its own strength. So you can see that they are enthusiastic. Their parents are getting their salaries and getting their pensions, getting their gratuities. The business environment is expanding. They are able to establish their own businesses and all of this. That is what you get when the right policies are put in place. So it is not a matter of hired crowd. We don't need to hire crowd when it comes to President Bola Tinubu and Governor Ahmed Usman Ododo in Kogi State. The Kogi youths are very happy with him. The Kogi populace is very happy with these two people, and we always support them.
I mean, let's talk about some of what's happening. You've talked about how the youths have been empowered with plumbing, paneling, the installations. The government not only taught them these skills for free, but also empowered them. However, we cannot overlook the fact that Kogi State has its challenges. And some of the challenges here, a huge one will be insecurity. Indigents and residents of Kababuno local government area on Friday staged a protest over worsening insecurity in the Western Senatorial District of the state. What will you say Kogi State has done so far in being able to protect the lives and citizens? Because there need to be citizens alive to contribute these funds, you know, and to be able to support the government. What is the government doing to deal decisively with insecurity in Kogi State?
Yeah, I wouldn't know which of the Fridays you're referring to, but let me just answer generally. I am aware that
well,
had some situations where some youth allegedly took to the streets to protest cases of insecurity in their domains. The issue of security is a national issue as we speak, and then as a state, we are doing a lot to be able to address this of the state. And I can tell you that in the last 2 years, Kogi has become safer than it used to be. We are not saying we are 100% when it comes to fighting insecurity. We are not saying we have completely eliminated insecurity. No society has succeeded in doing that. But we are making the right efforts. We are taking the right steps, and we are providing the right and putting together the right synergy.
Unfortunately, it seems we.
Fighting security.
Unfortunately, I'm afraid the Honorable Commissioner, your network seems to be very, very problematic there, so we cannot fully hear you to understand the points that you're trying to make concerning the last question Olive did ask. We also hear that there are calls that the governor should step down, talking about Governor Odudu, that the new governor or the governor that should be seated where he is currently is not supposed to be him in the next coming election. But then again, I want to say thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Hopefully network will allow us to have you join us again and talk more on the youths who have contributed 100 million naira. I was going to ask him a question that these youths are the same youths who have joined their voices to talk about how tough things are. Don't forget too that we threw the polls open and we asked youths who are from Kogi State to share with us if truly things are the way they say it is, and maybe, just maybe, they would have up to that amount, 100 million to drop. But then again, it seems like that 100 million was just augmented by the contribution the youths made, not that it fully came from the youths. That's another thing I wanted to clarify from our guests. But then again, thank you so much for joining us. You're still watching Breakfast Central. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a look at another very interesting story, by the way. And this time, we'll also touch on the FCT, the Federal Capital Territory, where the FCT Minister is talking tough. And yesterday, there was a court injunction that eventually stopped the protests. Yes, the protest that took place at the FCTA. And after that court injunction, the FCT Minister did warn the workers and told them, return to work. If you don't return to work, you will smell what the coffee is indeed smelling like. But then again, stay with us. We'll talk about that story in a moment. Welcome back. If you're in the Federal Capital Territory, you may be wondering what's really happening with the FCTA. But let's tell you very quickly that the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has urged striking workers under the Joint Union Action Congress to immediately suspend the industrial action following a ruling of the National Industrial Court in Abuja on Tuesday, ordering an end to the strike that has disrupted activities in the FCT administration for more than a week. Briefing journalists, Wike said the administration remains open to dialogue, but warned that defiance of the court order would attract legal and disciplinary consequences, alleging that the strike had been hijacked by politicians despite ongoing mediation and progress on workers' demands. It disclosed that over 12 billion naira had been approved for January salary payments and cited improved reforms, including FCT internally generated revenue of over 30 billion naira as evidence of government commitment to workers' welfare. Wike dismissed reports that protesters chased him out of his office, insisting he only stepped out to see President Bola Tinubu off at the airport, and cautioned that any further disruption of government operations would be met with decisive legal action, as the court ruled that once a dispute is before the National Industrial Court, workers must suspend all industrial action pending determination of the case. Let's just take a look.
The moment you don't know how to act as a worker, you now work as a politician, then I face you. I will treat you the way politicians have been treated. The court has cut off. If anybody dares again to block the gate, we use the person as scapegoat, because you must obey the law. We're in a democracy, we're not a military government. If we're in a military government, obviously, we will not allow the strike. But also the democracy, go and ventilate. And we have to go to court. Let the court look at it dispassionately. Who is wrong, who is right? But tomorrow, if you don't come to work, we're going to apply the big stick. And from tomorrow, if you see anybody who says, oh, he wants to block the gate, we'll make you a scapegoat.
We commend the court for making an order for the stopping of the strike, restraining the workers from going on strike or continue with the strike. I think this is commendable because it's going to give the parties opportunity to discuss, and then the order is given according to the law. And then whether or not it's going to bind other unions, yes, other unions are there. There is always a process of commencing strike. This one commenced, there was negotiation going on, and they went on strike. And court has told them to go back. Our plea to the union is that they should allow industrial harmony, they should go back to work, and give opportunity for mediation.
Whatever that is the case, the workers are law-abiding citizens. We are going to advise them to respect the court. The one good thing is that the court has also mandated that we should commence, it's not as an advice that we should commence mediation in line with the law. Now that we are in court, we are going to do a formal application where the media will also be a part of it, because they have been doing their best trying to reach out to the minister. But the minister refused to see them. And they went on strike, which is the only instrument a worker, an employee can use to express his grievances. And my lord said, since the matter is in court, matter cannot be in court, and you continue with the strike. Call off your strike, go back to work while we adjudicate on it.
So it's back and forth. That's what we have, Olive. The FCT minister there. I mean, there's more footage. There's another video where he said, if you come out, of course you get. If you don't come out, rather, if you don't go to work, then get ready to face the law. And then again, the video we saw where the FCT minister said clearly that anybody who blocks the gate will be used as a scapegoat. He said, if you want to...
What is a scapegoat to do? Is it perpetual?
I don't know. I don't know how they want to do that. But then again, he said something that once you turn to a politician, he will face you headlong. So he feels that this entire strike has been heavily politicized because there are placards of people saying Wike must go. There are videos of those who have led in the strike, especially the NUC. The NUC had also been part of this strike. The NUC was praying that they add a few more persons to the case before the court said no, the industrial court said no, don't add any other person, just focus and listen. Well, getting an injunction to stop them from protesting is one thing. The people are still saying, review our salaries, let's know what's happening. If not, we're not going to show up to work. I cannot wait for a reporter to join us.
I need to
Let's
confirm.
know if they show to.
So that's the thing I need to confirm. Getting an injunction to prevent them from protesting is what? Because constitutionally, every Nigerian has the right to protest. It's only since this administration we've been seeing that there's been a crackdown on protesting. How they protest is another issue. You can get an injunction refraining them from violently protesting if they were. But to refrain them from protesting, we have a right to freedom of association and freedom of expression. I don't know, how they try to justify that legally. Well, let's go on a break, and when we come back, we do have some more conversations to explore this morning. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying with us. We must apologize for the break in transmission earlier on while we're talking to one of our guests, talking about the Honorable Commissioner for Information, Kogi State, Honorable Kingsley Fowler. But he joins us back now. Hopefully the network will be stable so we can wrap up this conversation with just a few more questions to go. Without wasting much time, my question to you will definitely be on the recent uproar. We do hear that Kogi West, especially the youths, are agitated. They're stating clearly that the entire thing of pushing for Ododo to go in for another term is all shrouded in lies, and it's a farce. They're saying that the next governor should come from Kogi West, and therefore this issue of Southwest and all of that is brewing again. We did see something similar when it happened during the Rivers or Benin, Edo State, and all of that. Can you share with us what the true state of this issue really is as a communications person?
Very much. I'm from Kogi West. And we have a good number of our people from Kogi West. In Kogi State today, it is no longer about where you come from. It's basically about what you can offer the people of the state. And I can tell you categorically that the people of Kogi West are satisfied with the performance of the governor. I think we have even benefited more than ever right now. When you talk about the Egbe Township Road, the Mopa Township Road, the Aeto Robede Township Road, the Lokoja Township Road, the various educational infrastructure provided at Okebukun, at Takete, at Lokoja, at the Kogi State University, Kaba, and all of that, and you come to the healthcare delivery, especially the primary healthcare center, where every village, almost every village in the land today is having a brand new primary healthcare.
All right, Mr. Fowler, unfortunately, it seems that the network has stubbornly mentioned that it will not allow us to have this conversation. But we just really need to know the true sense. The statement there coming from Kogi is that there are youths who are saying no to the current governor. They're saying no, that it's enough. Do your term and go. We need one more person, and it doesn't have to come from it has to be from Kogi West and so on. So we're trying to get the true sense of what's really happening. And we believe you're the right person to break this down, especially for us. But let's see, since we can connect with you via a phone call, can you share with us? Can you go ahead and make the clarity? Honorable Fowler, are you there? Well, I guess we'll have to call it a wrap for today. Hopefully, we'll be able to do this again with you when the network is a bit stable. Let's move away from Kogi State conversation and bring to you another story. Türkiye has reaffirmed its strong support for Nigeria's fight against terrorism, particularly as extremist groups continue to threaten peace across Africa's Sahel region. Speaking after high-level talks, Turkish officials stressed their commitment to democracy, freedom, and regional stability, assuring Nigeria of sustained cooperation in tackling banditry and other elements of destabilization under the leadership of President Bola Tinubu. The meeting also opened doors for deeper bilateral ties, with both countries agreeing to strengthen collaboration in defense, military training, and intelligence sharing. There you have the footage there of the president himself, His Excellency Erdogan, who walked definitely introducing and welcoming Mr. President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu. And later on, they had this conversation where, as we read, collaboration was indeed the focus, and strengthening both ties, which would lead to military training, will lead to intelligence sharing, and not forgetting to strengthen future collaboration on defense, technology, healthcare. We also hear all of that. But then again, after all of this have been said and done, the big question is how a Chukwuemeka Tolu, or not forgetting to how Akpan, who lives somewhere in the suburbs, be it in Akwa Ibom State or in Lagos or somewhere in Anambra, will benefit from these bilateral agreements that have been signed with Nigeria and with different countries as well. But let's take a look at this. We'll be right back.
Between the effort at terrorism, and discuss how we could defeat element of destabilization, banditry, and horror. We will work together to achieve that. Take it to the bank. You can bet on me that I will be there with you.
Terrorist organizations emerging, particularly in Africa's Sahel region, unfortunately pose a threat to the peace of the entire continent. We stand by the friendly people of Nigeria in their fight against terrorism under the leadership of President Tinubu. In fact, today, we addressed opportunities for closer cooperation in the fields of military training and intelligence. We stated that we are ready to share our country's significant experience in the fight against terrorism.
This meeting gave both countries an opportunity to strengthen, to deepen their bilateral connections, to strengthen various other sectors of cooperation, particularly in defense, in intelligence, sharing in counterterrorism measures. Turkey is committed to Nigeria's fight against terror.
Well, we'll say it's a good one, and we'll leave it on the table where we mentioned how it will trickle down to benefit every single Nigerian. The presidency has mentioned how critical this collaboration is, and this also comes off the heels of the fact that just before the president had left for Turkey, there was the appointment of an ambassador to Turkey, but later on that appointment was rescinded by the presidency right before President Bola Tinubu made this trip. A very key trip, many have called it, a very important one that many have said will lead to the end of insecurity, especially in the northern areas, the middle belt, you name it, wherever Nigeria is battling with incessant or increased battle of insecurity. But let's see some of the MOU highlights. Agreement on Defense Cooperation. Number 2, Economic and Trade Joint Committee. That's Economy and Trade Joint Committee. Number 3, Halal Quality Assurance. 4, Cooperation in Higher Education. 5, Cooperation in Media and Communication. 6, Cooperation in Diaspora Policy. 7, Cooperation in Education. 8, Cooperation between the Ministries of Foreign Affairs. And that would also have to do with a lot of intelligence, information, and the likes when it comes to sharing. Let us know what your thoughts are. What do you think about this MOU that's been signed between Nigeria and Turkey? It would be a very interesting one to hear what Nigerians think and what they have to say about the entire situation.
All right, still looking at Kogi State. We're going back to Kogi State, but this time around we'll let you know that Kogi State has commissioned a new audit house in Lokoja, strengthening its framework for monitoring public funds. The facility, unveiled as part of Governor Usman Ododo's second year in office, was commissioned by former Delta State Governor James Ibori. News Central's Mana Balagbolo reports.
The Kogi State Audit House is unveiled in Lokoja. bringing together the offices of the state and local government auditors general under one complex. Governor Usman Ododo says the facility is a deliberate investment in accountability and institutional strengthening.
The benefits of this facility are far-reaching. It will enhance operational efficiency, promote inter-audit collaboration, improve record management and digital transition, provide training and conference facility, and ultimately strengthen the credibility of public financial oversight in Kogi State. By investing in audit infrastructure, we are investing in fiscal discipline, service delivery, and public trust.
Special guest at the occasion, former Delta State Governor James Ibori, who commissioned the facility, charged the Kogi State government to ensure it is effectively used to serve the people. For the audit institutions, the responsibility now lies in translating the investment into accountability.
The Office of Auditor for the Federation is providing technical support on a pro bono basis without professional fees, as part of our national responsibility to strengthen sub-national audit institutions. The Office of Auditor General for Kogi State, on its part, will bear the logistic, operational and administrative responsibility necessary to ensure smooth implementation.
We shall follow every cover, every resources deployed to its final intended destination, and we shall report to you accordingly.
We assured you that this investment accountability will yield lasting dividends in transparency, financial prudence, and improved governance across all local councils.
With the facility now in place, state officials say it will enhance audit work and processes, strengthening accountability across the state. In Kogi for News Central, Morno Balagugu.
Let's now come back to Lagos and tell you about the unfortunate story of a building collapse in the Magodo axis of Lagos State in 2019, which left an entire family wiped out, leaving only the man of the house. And this video has resurfaced, and this conversation has resurfaced. This is following a bid to garner support for the only survivor of that incident as he seeks medical and legal support from the state government and other relevant authorities. In this special report, News Central Special Correspondent on Investigative Journalism, Marshal Anthony Onoye, reports that the lone survivor, Emmanuel Otache, who is left with a physical deformity from the accident, is seeking to get justice for the death of his 3 children and his pregnant wife. Really sad. Let's take a look at the report.
Meet 47 years old Emmanuel Otache.
My name is Emmanuel Otache from Apa local government in Benue State.
Emmanuel Otache is a man who lives a physical disability brought upon him following a building collapse next to his residence, while his wife, 3 children, and himself were fast asleep.
A building owned by a footballer which played ball in one of the Arab countries, Fatai Biodu Oduntola, in Magodo, Phase 1, Lagos here. The building collapsed on my apartment and killed my pregnant wife and 3 children.
He tells a sad story of how he not only came to lose the use of his legs, but lost 3 children, namely Jummai Bright Otache, 19 years, Dominion, 13, and Daniel, 12 years, with his wife, aged 38 and 6 months pregnant at the time of their demises.
My house is very close by here. Around 5:30, I have a call on my phone that it's like the house, my brother, one of my brother here.
5:30 a.m.?
Yeah, a.m. That it's like a mass house has collapsed, and they have been calling him. The number was ringing, nobody is speaking the call. My area here has been flooded. We have to jump inside that water and swim outside there. 2 people now followed me inside. They just, because he was still speaking, we just take that risk to enter inside. Then you had to get some things to, so sledgehammer. They think that hook his leg. Have to remove that and pull him out. And somebody came. We begged this man close by here. He gave us his car. Then he himself took us to the hospital.
What about his family, his children and wife?
The children and the wife, all of them are gone. It's only him that survived it.
When they bring excavator to bring us down, they have never knew that we have taken the fence outside. The sound of the hill up, the fence now block us. When people were thinking that we are still inside, we are already nearby outside. The crowd, the massive of people that came to rescue us, they never know that they are parking their vehicle on top of us. That is the last what I noticed. After spending 7 months in a coma, I haven't heard anything apart from the fact that they are dead. I was told that the Dominion, Adole, and Akoche, which is down there, the 2 boys, were buried here in Lagos. Why bride, Jumai, with the mother have taken to Benue State. When Lagos State Emergency Agency, Sama was putting us inside back, I was lifeless. Say, this one don't go. There's an iron in my chest here. From my waist down to this my knees, there's an iron there. My molar, up and down, 4 is no more again. You can see my head. You can see like this. There's a wood here.
Emmanuel made several attempts to reach out to the owner of the building that took the lives of his children and pregnant wife, ex-national footballer Fatai Biodun Odutola.
You say, Emmanuel, are you the Emmanuel? You can go to her. Say, I should go to her, or I should go and take a lawyer, that you have a lawyer to stand. That, is he the one that pushed the house down? He is not the one that pushed the house down, that he have lost a lot. And he ended up with speak there, that I should go to her. Ever since then, I don't hear from him again.
Can you describe to us how the house was before now?
Okay, thank you very much. This is a picture of the house before. 2-bedroom flat was at the back. Why? We tenants were at the back, then landlord is at the front. But the very night that the incident happened, the landlord traveled with the children and my neighbor traveled as well. It was me and my children that are home that night where the incident happened, that resulted to the death of my pregnant wife and 3 children.
With the help of some volunteer legal practitioners, Emmanuel approached a few offices, government agencies, ministries and departments, hoping to get whatever help he could muster from them to foot his medical bills and advance other medical interventions towards any hopes of reviving his legs.
As at time of filing this report, none of these agencies has reached out to Emmanuel to advance any form of discussion on his quests for justice and appeal for medical support. A clear case of no one to fight his battles. Homeless, helpless, and physically disabled, Emmanuel looks to the future with little or no glimpse of hope in sight. For News Central, Marshall Anthony Onaya.
What a sad story.
I don't even have the
Very
right words
sad.
to say.
How quick things can turn around. This was somebody who had a family, was building a home, was building his life, and then all of a sudden, from nowhere, a building crumbles and therefore leads to the death of his entire family member, with him barely surviving. But he was left with injuries that will last him a lifetime.
Imagine going to speak with the landlord and telling the landlord about compensation, and the landlord says, I've lost everything as well. You're not the one that lost, and then hangs up the phone.
Yeah.
It's lacking in empathy. What will justice look like for this man? Because this is like the biblical Job, starting everything all over again. And
short,
no matter how much he starts all over again, he can't heal the first loss. He cannot.
Well, we urge relevant authorities, and I mean, kudos to our investigative journalists, and that's what News Central is known to do, to feel the pulse of the people and dig deeper and ensure that we get some of these very, very insightful stories that would mean a lot. What Emmanuel needs now, he needs closure, because he said he was in a coma for 7 months, meaning that he didn't even know how his family members were buried. He only heard that some were buried in Lagos and so on, but he wasn't there to witness it. And the saddest story was that during the extraction or the excavation, he did mention that the truck was actually on top of them. And that's where negotiations have always highlighted. Whenever there's a building collapse and we have these excavators, they come in, we're always worried. Are they really, did they find out if people are there under the rubble before they go ahead and start the process? But in his case, it's obvious that that also added to possibly the demise. So we're hoping that Lagos State will look into this. It's been a long time it happened. And we're hoping that relevant authorities, even well-meaning Nigerians and lawyers, will try to step in for him. All he needs now is that he just needs someone to take care of his medical bills and let him at least have some sense of humanity. Let him live so that he can mourn his family properly. But now he's mourning on one hand. On the other hand, he's trying to find a way to get closure and survive at the same time.
There's nothing like closure.
There's too much going on for
It's too much. It's really too much. And it does deserve some form of compensation, right? Compensation. Yes, some would say it's an act of God. But, I mean...
Anyway, let's take the next package quickly. Abia State government says it has declared wanted a man seen in a viral video at the weekend. So we want you to take a look at the picture of this man. If you know him, we'll tell you how you can reach out to the security operatives. Well, the man in the viral video this past weekend giving a machete cut to another man. The video showed a man identified as a member of the Abia State Environmental Protection Agency attacking a man standing on a street in Umuahia with a machete during a fracas. News Central's Chinwe Ugele tells us more.
According to eyewitnesses, problems started when the neighborhood resisted some persons believed to be working for the Abia State Environmental Protection Agency from arresting a boy over sanitation issues.
But when the boy was about to open my neighbor's shop, so they went to arrest him. And we were like, leave this boy that he's not the owner of the shop. And meanwhile, the daughters are not that dirty, and he just came to do the cleanup before people now came to attack him. They didn't want to listen. So they started calling one of their members. I don't know him in person, but when the person arrived, he was just tall and fake. Let's just enter inside his vehicle, bring out knife. Someone that was trying to separate the fight cut his hand like that, and everybody ran away.
His mother, Lucy Ben, recounts how her son, whom she sent to buy water from a neighbor, was being whisked away.
I told them that he's not the owner of the shop. They should leave him. They refused. So my son now dragged the brother out of them. They now hold my son. Came. I was now shouting. So what is all this? Why are you beating my son and beating my daughter at the same time? The guy now hit me on my chest.
They accuse agents of the agency of extortion and call on the state government to sanction those involved in the act.
Even if your daughter is claimed, they will say, go and meet your Oga, go and meet our Oga, go and meet our Oga inside the vehicle. So sometimes we will go. Sometimes if you don't have money to give them, you will start dragging them.
Sometimes they will come. They will ask us to give them money. Sometimes I do give them money.
While the injured man is said to be receiving medical attention at an undisclosed hospital, Special Advisor to Governor Alex Oti on Media and Publicity, Ferdinand Ekoma, has dismissed claims that the perpetrators were government officials.
The GM of ASEPA, has spoken and explained that the individual in question belonged to a disbanded group of ASEPA operators. So he was involved in an illegal duty. Of course, that is why he's on the run. He's been declared wanted by security agencies And of course, once he's apprehended, he will be, arraigned and properly prosecuted. He does not represent ASEPA. What he did was illegal.
Although the people confirm that the government has been doing a lot to maintain a clean environment, they are demanding that the state government should engage credible people to serve as agents of his task force. In Abia for News Central, Chinwe Ugeli.
All right, so you have the picture of the individual, and if you find him and you know where he is, well, feel free to report to the nearest police station there. We'll go to a quick break. Breakfast Central continues. The front pages of the newspapers is up next. Don't forget to have the headlines and more. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us here on Breakfast Central. Let's take a look at the top stories making the headlines on Breakfast Headlines. First, President Bola Tinubu has signed a strategic cooperation agreement with Turkish counterpart Recep Tayyip Erdogan to strengthen ties between both countries. Erdogan had welcomed President Bola Tinubu in an official ceremony in the capital, Ankara. Tinubu's motorcade was greeted by 103 cavalry units on the avenue leading to the presidential complex, symbolizing the 103rd anniversary of the Turkish Republic. The ceremony was attended by senior Turkish officials, including ministers, presidential advisors, and the Ankara governor. The following are the agreement highlights: Defense Cooperation, Economy and Trade Joint Committee, Halal Quality Assurance, Cooperation in Higher Education, Cooperation in Media and Communication, Cooperation in Diaspora Policy, Cooperation in Education, Cooperation between the Ministries of Foreign Affairs.
Effort at terrorism, discuss how we could defeat elements of destabilization, banditry, and horror. We will work together to achieve that. Take it to the bank. You can bet on me that I will be there with you.
Terrorist organizations emerging, particularly in Africa's Sahel region, unfortunately pose a threat to the peace of the entire continent. We stand by the friendly people of Nigeria in their fight against terrorism under the leadership of President Tinubu. In fact, today, we addressed opportunities for closer cooperation in the fields of military training and intelligence. We stated that we are ready to share our country's significant experience in the fight against terrorism.
This meeting gave both countries an opportunity to strengthen, to deepen their bilateral connections, to strengthen various other sectors of cooperation, particularly in defense, in intelligence, sharing in counterterrorism measures. Turkey is committed to Nigeria's fight against terror.
The presidency on Tuesday explained that President Bola Tinubu's brief stumble during a ceremonial reception in Ankara, Turkey, was caused by a poorly laid carpet at the venue. The incident happened as Tinubu joined Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in a match pass at the presidential complex shortly after his arrival for an official state visit. Video clips shared online showed the president momentarily losing balance while walking beside his host before regaining composure with assistance from security aides. The president's special assistant on social media, Dada Olusegun, said the moment did not disrupt the program, stressing that Tinubu continued with scheduled bilateral engagements immediately afterward. President Bola Tinubu has forwarded a set of judicial reform bills to the Senate seeking approval to increase the number of judges across key courts in a bid to reduce growing case backlogs. The proposals include raising the number of justices at the Court of Appeal from 70 to 110 and increasing judges at the Federal High Court from 70 to 90. The Senate also received a request to confirm a nominee for the Supreme Court alongside a bill proposing the establishment of an alternative dispute resolution center within the appellate system. All the proposals have been referred to the Senate Committee on Rules and Business. The presidency says the reforms are aimed at strengthening judicial efficiency and improving access to justice. Let's also tell you that President Bola Tinubu has transmitted 24 health sector bills to the Senate for legislative consideration in line with Section 58 of the 1999 Constitution. The bills, read during plenary by Senate President Godswill Akpabio, follow a comprehensive review of existing health laws by the Attorney General and the Minister of Health and were approved by the Federal Executive Council. Tinubu said the proposed amendments aim to streamline governance by reducing bloated board structures across health institutions, including teaching hospitals, regulatory agencies, and professional councils such as NAFDAC and the Nursing and Midwifery Council. After first reading, the Senate referred all 24 bills to the Committee on Rules and Business for further legislative action. Let's tell you that traders at Onitsha Main Market in Anambra State have staged protests following a one-week closure ordered by Governor Chukwuma Soludo. The move, intended to maintain order, has sparked anger among market operators. Social media videos show traders flooding the market with placards, chanting slogans and expressing support for the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu. Security agencies have barricaded the market, deploying hundreds of personnel along the armored personnel carriers and Hilux vehicles to key locations to enforce the closure. South Sudan's government says the East African country is not at war despite renewed fighting in Jonglei State that has displaced more than 180,000 people. Authorities describe the clashes as a security operation against advancing rebel forces. The violence, which began in late December, involves factions aligned with President Salva Kiir and forces linked to former Vice President Riek Machar. Humanitarian agencies report severe displacement and difficulties assessing affected communities, with aid groups warning of shortages following reported restrictions on relief efforts. And finally, President Donald Trump plans to de-escalate a little bit in Minneapolis, but insisted it is not a pullback as criticism mounts over the fatal shootings of Alex Pretty and Renee Good by immigration enforcement agents. Trump has dispatched his so-called border czar, Tom Homan, to manage operations on the ground and is expected to remove hardline Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino amid rising protests and political outrage. Democratic leaders have threatened to pursue impeachment of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem if she is not fired over handling of the immigration crackdown, though Trump continued to praise her border work. Meanwhile, a federal judge has ordered acting ICE Director Todd Leons to appear in court over alleged violations of court orders during the enforcement surge. And that does it for Breakfast Headlines. Newspaper front pages is up next. You can start calling in and let's hear you. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. It's time for the newspaper front pages. But before we go deep into the front pages, let me do the honors by introducing the guests that we have in the studio. So to my left here, we do have a tax consultant who is here with us. He's also a public affairs commentator. Please, like each and every one of you watching us from home, we do have Mr. Haruna Fred who joins us. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Also joining us, we have the one and only, indefatigable. You know, what's that grammar again?
Indefatigable.
Oh my goodness.
You have now spoiled it in my head.
A golfer par excellence.
We must also mention
an
that
account experienced personnel.
A face familiar to our audience.
Ladies and gentlemen,
a member of the House.
We have Mr.
Olusegun Okunade.
Thank you so much for being here as well.
Yeah, thank you very much.
It's a
party.
After the party, after the party. Don't let's declare it.
It's a party.
It's known to us.
It's a packed conversation we're going to have but would like our callers to still feel free to call us and react to either of the stories that we've had from the morning when we started, from the president, stumble, and down to the latest story concerning Anambra and the like. So please feel free. But one of our major conversation will border on what we're about to share with you. The Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, LIRS, announced plans, according to newspaper outlets, to enforce recovery of unpaid taxes from defaulting taxpayers through third parties, including banks, employers, tenants, debtors, and business partners. The move is backed by Section 60 of the Nigeria Tax Administration Act 2025, NTAA, which grants LIRS the legal power of substitution. Now, the public notice, LIRS explained that where a taxpayer fails to settle the final and established tax liability, the agency may direct any person holding funds on behalf of the taxpayer or owing the taxpayer to remit such funds directly to the tax authority. Taxes covered include personnel income tax, capital gains tax, stamp duties, and withholding tax. This conversation has caused a lot of drama online, and hence we have two respected guests who are in that field, so they will be able to break it down right as we continue with the newspapers as well. But let me start off first with the LIRS story, because that's the story we're going to look at. That forms the crux of our conversation leading into review of the newspapers. I'm going to start with you, Mr. Fred. What's this whole drama? I remember I and Olive talked about it yesterday, and I had highlighted how they quoted Section 60 of the NTAA 2025, and many people are already grumbling that why.
All right, good morning once more, and thank you for having me in the studio. Actually, if you look at this public notice that came from the LIRS, I think this is just a kind of misconception. But if it is not a misconception, if it's something that they look at enforcing, then I don't think it's consistent with the law, with the Constitution, because when someone is owing, there are various processes to getting your funds. I don't think the LIRS has the powers to be able to give instructions to a bank or any other third party without a court order from a competent court of jurisdiction to that effect. So I would say that I think it is again another misconception coming out of the Finance Act. Like we had a lot of drama back and forth in 2025 when the Finance Act was passed into law. There are lots of drama that came along with it and all of that. I think some of these things is a function of mischief makers who want to trend online. But like I said earlier, if it is something that the Lagos State government want to actually enforce, then it will be repugnant with certain provisions of the Constitution.
You said, so we shouldn't really trust it, but let me hear from
Yeah, thank you very much, Joe. I'm sure you know this conversation on tax. The other shows told me away from breakfast show.
I know.
We saw that.
So you can
well done to the other show.
To come and give explanation. Truth be told that the current generation we have, and those that are mischievous, that wants to just trend, pick part of a story and ignore the rest. If you go to Section 60, we have 5 subsections under it. LIRS has only quoted the one related to them, and they left the last one so that you go ahead and read. If you want to read and have the peace of mind, or you go the other route and start giving yourself an attack. If you look at Section 5, just like my colleague said, he said the provision of this act with respect to objection and appeal shall apply to any notice given under the section as if such notice were an assessment and demand notice. Before we get to the aspect of saying somebody will come and debit your account, first and foremost, it's not new. And I'll give you a practical example of what happened between the former FRS, now NRS, in 2004, 2005, when two government agencies were owing one another, and that was the former NEPA or PHCN, owing Federal Inland Revenue Service from remitting withholding taxes. First and foremost, I'm sure you are aware that a lot of people deduct some of these taxes, employers, without remitting accordingly to the regulators or to the agencies concerned. And they withheld it. You will be grumbling as staff. You can't challenge your management. And they are not remitting, say, even to the authority concerned. And this happened between PHCN then and Federal Inland Revenue Service, owing so much. I think about 8 billion, you know, in terms of withholding taxes, VAT and the likes. And it came before the former president then. And it was signed into after fought and back, because you must have been objecting. I'm sure my professor, you will allude to it. They will give you their position, you object, you give your own position. If both of you refuse to have a common ground, then you have court of competence to actually look into it and give you the final say of what it should look like. It's on that premise, after the court has made the declaration, you have a specific number of days to make your remittance to the authority concerned, whether at the subnational or at the federal. Failure to do this, they will now either appoint a party or they take it upon themselves, confiscate anything that is commensurate. It is at that point in time the bank will give understanding and an handshake to say, okay, this person that is owing you, because at that point in time now they can declare to the court what you have in your account and have access to it. So this thing is not something that will come up with 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. No. There are things that both parties would have been exchanging correspondences. And if both of you could not agree, go to courts. Court will make final decision. It's just like when the court declares that you are guilty, what else happened? You are definitely obliged to fulfill that which is there. That is exactly what is happening. So a lot of people are saying, you know, before this LRS, whatever, I think LRS just decided to come up with what we were having before them. Because, you know, before everybody was saying, they now said they want to have access to our account. They will be debiting account. They want to know what I have in my money. A lot of people that are making that have asked the question. A few of them before this tax issue, we will tell them, oh, I don't have money. Oh. Now, when the news can say, sir, are they going to debit my account? I said, do you have money in your account?
I thought you said you don't have money.
I said you don't have money. So you see the mischievousness. But the fact remains that this is not a new law. Everybody is just trying. And I think why LRS is saying this, you know, this is a month where annual returns is actually being made by employer. And most people are not even aware that these are to be done. Despite, because most of the time, who are the people that we're actually following on social media? Those that will, emergency tax professionals who do not have a deeper knowledge of what taxes is all about. And you know, everywhere I go to, people have asked me, Mr. Sheson, you are supporting these taxes. I said, well, I have looked inward and I've seen that it's more beneficiary to we people. I'm even feeling for the government. But what I'm not feeling too much for them is because they have other means of income. Don't forget now that we have people that are exempted from taxes. You have organizations that are exempted from paying CIT that would have ordinarily paid, which you can plug back into your businesses, or even you have more purchasing power. You have so many products being exempted from VAT. Some are zero rated, some are... So when you look at all those things, I ask myself, whether my professional colleagues will, is it not more beneficiary to us, the citizen, than when we are paying this? I think what we need more is that those of us in the space, we will continue to avail ourselves to explain to people. I've visited a lot of religious houses, clubs, explaining this to people, even on the national discourse.
You visit club to explain this to people?
No, of course not, because several income now that will be that will definitely be taxed.
I just needed to be sure that.
No, of course, so it's part of the responsibility.
You're doing two things at once: oblaying and.
When you consolidate oblay, it will release the pressure that the people are giving to you in the populace.
Very, very correct.
You have to balance the two. Now do the work and do oblay. Any work with that social area, then you see heart attack coming your way.
Okay. All right, let's now go to the front pages of the papers and take some stories there. This morning, let's begin with...
I think Daily Independent.
I wanted to begin with the Punch.
Okay, go on. Punch them with something.
Punch, because I want us to talk about this. They say investigation uncovers colonel who plotted Tinubu's ouster. Recall that this gist came out and they denounced it. They said fresh intelligence details have surfaced on the foiled attempt against President Bola Tinubu's administration, shedding light on how a serving army colonel allegedly assembled a covert cross-service network to undermine the constitutional order before security agencies moved in. They recall that the defense headquarters, remember when they announced the arrest of 16 people?
Yeah.
So they arrest them for acts of indiscipline and breaches of service regulations. Now, this was the same time that they stopped the October 1st parade. Well, typically we would expect the parade, but they suspended it. And the rumors were flying that is as a result of this. But now, they found it out and they're coming. Do you have any reactions to that?
Okay. You see, my reaction to this is the path at which we are defensive in some of the things that we do. When this issue came out, all the military forces denied nothing of such, this and that. Now investigation has revealed that there was an attempt, there was a gathering of things that looks seemly to be carried out in such manner. It speaks volume about some of those other areas where government quickly reacts to issue without proper investigation before they react. Remember the discussion we had here about the kidnapping of the students, where the local government chairman denied the police agency and a few days later they said they visited and carried out proper investigation. Same is applicable when you go into all this area of corruption cases, allegations. We always hear the story before investigation is being carried out. So I feel that we should do more of investigation before reacting to some of these issues. I've said it that when you see people who react swiftly to things that people are criticizing them about, it's just showing that you are more defensive, not going deeper to have an understanding of it.
What if it was a security measure?
Well, I don't think it's
first of all, not inform us enough until they have full picture.
I don't think it's even a security measure, because to start with, there are better ways to have presented the matter at the time the story broke out. It's simple. Okay, we are investigating to know the true nature of things. Not you coming out to completely deny the whole scenario, and then months later, we are even having 16 names out who are going to face court-martial and all of that for the same story that you claimed never existed. So I think this, again, is one of the reasons why there is the breach of trust between the led and the government. It's simple. If we are saying this is something that is happening and you come out to completely, deny its existence, and then days, weeks, months later, there is a 360-degree turnaround to say that, look, this is what is now happening. At the end of the day, what are you going to tell us tomorrow that we are going to believe? So these are some of the things that brings the breach of trust between the government and the people.
Okay, very interesting. I was reading more into the details of the story. They say that part of the affairs is the fact that it's crossed between the people involved, the players, army, navy, that it's
every coup that has happened is always with the armed forces. And the armed forces is the army, the navy and the air force. So that it's a normal thing. Go back to history.
One section carry out
go back to history
because you need
and
to
check
consolidate
all the coups that has happened, the government takeovers that have happened. It is the armed forces. And when we say the armed forces, is both the army, the navy and the air force.
But the reason they're giving here doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. That the disgruntled person, the person in charge, the coup plotter, was disgruntled, is a colonel whose repeated failures in promotion examinations reportedly bred resentment and alienation. And rather than nursing his grievances quietly, he said to have turned them into a recruitment to drawing officers from the Army, Navy, and Air Force into a loose but coordinated network. Should failing your exams and not being given your promotion be enough reason to plan?
What do you expect the DHQ to say? if you were in their shoes? What explanation will you give?
You must definitely give a story to back up whatever you are.
So you agree that that's a publicity crisis management story?
No, it might actually be the reality, but whether it is true or not, I will continue to say we should do proper investigation. We need to look. See, the major problem we are even having with this tax forum, everywhere we go, is like people will tell you, it's not that we don't believe the new tax law. Somebody asked me, so you are part of the people that said they should remove subsidy. What is the benefit of that subsidy removal today? And who am I to speak? We are thinking that the subsidy remover will actually engineer where our petroleum refinery will be resuscitated and give back. I'm sure you heard the news yesterday that we now have an increase in price from 7.39 to 8.39 now. So the question there is, a lot of us have said this from the professional wing to say, can we have other refinery functioning? When you have supply into the system, automatically, economic-wise, you don't need any argument.
I don't think. I mean, when they showed the president in Turkey, by the way, and some of the comments I saw, especially from some professionals in the economists, they just said these bilateral agreements, yes, they look good on paper, they're beautiful, but think about it deeply. If you sign bilateral agreements and your refineries at home are not working, they're in comatose.
Doesn't make any sense. There is no sense.
I'm going outside to sign an agreement with my neighbor that going forward, please, let's start sowing seeds of beans. Let's grow beans in the compound near his yard. But in my house, I don't have food, but I have bags of rice there. I don't cook. I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Of course.
I don't cook. But I'm going to, why don't you just prepare your meal so that everything would work?
You see,
at the end of the day, it boils down to what we're saying earlier. You see, where there is no transparency in one, information being dished out. Two, where there is no transparency in the actual implementation of policies. Now you have these problems. Because in the first place, the explanations given for the removal of the subsidy is what my professional colleague here has said. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Now, it's now a matter of implementation. So where are we in the implementation? This is almost 3 years down the line. Where are we? We cannot see anything with respect to the benefit of the removal of subsidy. So at the end of the day, it is still the vulnerable Nigerians that have been plunged more into poverty.
Yeah, and Joe, just to support what my colleague has said, if we've said it, the current state of those assets of our nation, the refinery, is nothing to write home about. And we've said, can you give this asset to the people that understand business? People are saying you will still give to the likes of Dangote. Give it to them. Let them turn this asset to money-yielding investment for us. So you can imagine if we have 3 refineries functioning. Do you know what will happen, Joe? You have more petroleum product pushed into the system. Leave pricing.
Okay.
What they taught us in economics, I don't know whether it has changed.
No,
I don't know if it
that
has
is what
changed.
I also know. That when your
supply outweighs your demand,
it will push down
the price. Nobody. No. Remember when SIM cards was sold to us now?
Yes.
I remember when I bought my first line.
Like 20, between 20 to 50.
Line, no, I'm not saying phone. Line was 20-something thousand. And then that sole organization, they made us understand that is the best that we can do. Until we now add more competition coming into it. Now they give SIM cards for free. In fact, they can give you 4 if you want, provided you can register. Let's just it is now. So let's link it. That's exactly what we're saying. That when you give this refinery, I'm not concerned about who you are giving it to. An average businessman wants to actually utilize his fund, just like what Dangote is doing. So what will happen is that if Dangote is there, another refinery is there, third one is there, fourth one is there. Some will choose that, okay, no, it's local, I want to play. I will sell more if I sell outside. This other one will pick this area. No, some will say, no, I'm in the east. I don't want to come to the west. So you start seeing different creativity coming up. But I have asked the GMD of NNPCL, till now, what is your own stake on this state of the function of the refinery? We are not hearing anything about it.
Okay, let's talk about...
We want to go ahead and be blaming Dangote for increasing
I'd like us to go to Daily Independent.
Exactly.
Quickly. I want us to look at this major story because we have tax men here. And I want to see how taxation will be heavily impacted because the governor mentioned the amounts that they lose. And we're going to Anambra. Anambra, that's what we're going to. Well, Sergei Okore criticized Soludo's closure of Onitsha Market. I don't know. We're going to put the footage up on the screen so you can get to see. But let me start with you. The governor said a huge sum of money is lost every Mondays when the shops don't open. So what was the best way he could take it? Shut down, give them warning. If you don't open, he will close it down for 1 month, 30 days. Now he's doing 1 week. Monday, they are hoping to resume, though they have a caretaker/marketers meeting very soon. But what's your take on the whole Anambra thing and how it affects taxation and also the economy?
You see, you don't bite your nose to spite your face.
Were you watching the show? This was the exact analogy I used when I was speaking to the president, the governorship media aide.
You don't bite your nose to spite your face. You said you are losing money every Monday, and you are going ahead
to lose more money.
To lose money for
1 week.
It doesn't make any sense.
And even to make it worse, he has said he's
And
happy to even do it at the end of the month. Or even
at the end of the day, who is losing what? Who is actually losing what? So you see, and to come to see that Prof himself is a well-respected economist. I believe he has his reasons. I want to believe that he has his reasons, but it doesn't make an economic sense. I think the best thing was to do what he's doing now. This meeting he's talking about, this meeting of...
said they've had several meetings, but yeah, the people don't want to come through. We asked his advisor, his media aide, was security provided? He said yes, security was provided. But the people are saying something different. I don't know if you've seen
this is the point. If the people are saying something different, you are their governor. The first thing to do, you see, governance must come with empathy. And where governance is lacking empathy, you have issues as this. Because at the end of the day, the government will not listen to the cry of the people. If you see, there is an adage in my place that says, if a child is crying and pointing to a direction, then it is important the parents look to that direction. There is something the child is seeing that the parents have not seen. So if the people are saying something else other than what you are seeing, I think the onus is on the government to listen to the people and understand their perspective. That is when you can now find a lasting solution to the problem that you are trying to solve.
Okay.
Yeah, you see, it's to me very surprising that this is coming from a well-respected prof who during his tenure as CBN governor, we saw a lot of things that he has done, and he understands the dynamics. My colleague said he knows what he's actually doing. I don't believe so, but it doesn't make logical sense. Don't let me even say economic sense at this point. It's not logical to me. If somebody is telling you, these are people that make daily living from the market. It is when they sell, they make money for themselves and be able to fulfill even their obligation to the government by paying their taxes. And they are telling you, no, I can't come out. And you said you provided security. They are not just coming out. It does not sync with me, sincerely speaking. And I don't think this reaction is the way to go. So what do you want those people to eat? We are complaining of one day. How do you want their businesses to survive now that you've closed it for 1 week?
I listen at a whole month.
I even listen critically that if they don't yield, it will level the place down. Yeah, so I'm already thinking in the direction.
From a governor.
You see, I'm already looking at the direction of what we know every politician to do. I'm not handling him now as a professional that I used to know. Now it's like You know, another politician, they have an eye. They might want to just share that particular place among themselves. This is national. You revamp it and convert such to residential, where they will not be skyscraper and the likes. Because I don't expect such from a respected economist to be saying, where you are generating revenue, if you don't obey the law to come out and make your sales, I will level it down. To do what?
With it, after it has been leveled down.
To do what? To build modern markets where people, so you will now put people under pressure. These are things that creates gap between those that are being governed and the governors. You must look for a way to close that ground. You must. You still don't, people now at home, some of the youths that go to market every day, Shebi is only money they are not going. Exactly. Now they must resort to something. Do you know there are some people that on daily basis, if they don't make any, they can't survive?
He actually alluded to that.
So if you alluded to that, so why are you now taking away? You should have continuously have this engagement and listen to people.
Do you think that, I mean, I had said something, and I've said that thing in the past, because over the weekend I was watching a few documentaries, and apparently it seems like once politicians, attain that level of power, they tend to believe that, they're more powerful than the huge number of people that they rule over. Look at Nigeria, over 230, 40, 50 million persons. And if just a percentage of that amount say, okay, we're done, we're shutting down the country. We've seen it happen in other countries. Yeah. We're not saying it's going to happen in Nigeria. We've seen that happen in other countries. Yeah. And we know what it led to. The presidency, the power, everybody, all disintegrating and so on. But do they think that way? Do they reason that, oh, maybe I should also look at the people? Or is it a case of once one is in power, because statements like, I'm going to level the whole place, and we just said, if you're earning 100 naira Monday to Friday, and it's just Monday you are missing, you are willing to lose 500 naira, so that...
You see, the thing is this. Most times, when these politicians get into office, they forget that power belongs to the people.
In Nigeria, does it?
No, the truth is they forget it. Even in Nigeria, power still belongs to the people. The only issue we have in Nigeria is the fact that, permit me to use this expression, we are too careful. And because of that carefulness, Nigerians tend to adapt to any situation.
Very good in adapting.
The
you understand?
Level average Nigeria.
It's just so at the end of the day, this is what politicians are now lashing on, because they know that whatever happens, an average Nigerian will survive.
We have the spirit of a survivor. Yeah. Okay, I want us to really take this story because we're almost out of time. We have 3 minutes to go. Still on front page of Daily Independent. Resume work or face sanctions, Wike tells striking FCT workers. From one
I think we have the video. We have that video. We can shoot that video while we're talking.
From one decree to another.
So what's your take on that?
It's the same thing.
But in Wike's case, he has gotten court injunction. Let me take a few comments from what do you call it? YouTube. Pastor Marcus says, okay, you want us to play the video?
Let's take this video.
The court has cut off. If anybody dares again to block the gate, we use the person as scapegoat, because you must obey the law. We're a democracy, we're not a military government. If we're a military government, obviously, we will not allow the strike. But we're still a democracy, go and ventilate. And we have to go to court. Let the court look at it dispassionately. Who is wrong, who is right? But tomorrow, if you don't come to work, we're going to apply the big stick. And from tomorrow, if you see anybody who says, oh, he wants to block the gate, we'll make you a scapegoat.
Politicians talk like this. It shows the kind of power that
they use the person to do scapegoats, can be in form of asun or goldsmith pepper soup.
Whichever it is.
On the Friday,
so if you both can share your thoughts in like maximum.
Okay, well, my reaction to this is that my friend said the power belongs to the people, but the politician hardly allowed that to happen for us in this country. If the people are actually complaining, most of the time you see the affluence life some of these politicians leave. You know their status before they take office. You know what their status like. We are still battling with Malami issue. They will tell you allegations. So what do you want to say of an average Nigerian that know the status of Malami with the so much wealth he has actually gotten for himself within the shortest possible time that he served the nation? And all we will get is that Nigeria is broke. We need to borrow more funds. We need to do a lot of things. And the people are not getting the value. And you feel it's threatening them that will take you further. Politicians should be, because a lot of my friends, I'll tell you, when you are on this side with us, it's a different game. When you cross the gate, there seems to be a spirit that just pushes you.
I kid you not.
I agree with you.
Yeah, that pushes you, and you have, oh boy, we they fight this cause together.
Sometimes it's a spirit, sometimes it's just
tell you that you can't understand. You tell you can't understand when you come to this side. And I'm still asking myself.
Hence why some resign, you know. Very few though.
Very few. So I feel that the politicians, you understand the plight that Nigerians actually put them in that position, entrusted them with some of the natural resources and some of our funds for their own good, as in the people's good. But now what we get is that is for the benefit of themselves. And because I've always asked the question, you are asking that you give us free education, good education in the country, and none of them. I've seen a lot of them celebrating their graduation of their children in the international schools.
Yes, sir.
Not even in Nigeria.
Yes, sir.
Do you hear any one of them say Unilag or BC Onabanjo or OAU that's where their children are graduating from? Either first degree,
you want us to stress them out. Let's get Mr. Reynolds.
Well, like I said before, governance should come with empathy. I mean, that statement is not having any iota of empathy in it. Our leaders, our politicians must get to the point where we play the politics of the people, the politics for the people. We say we are in a democracy, but we are not saying, he quoted that we are in a democracy, and that is the reason we allow them to, but we are not saying democracy. Democracy is actually government of the people. The government we are having is not of the people. It's not for the people. So at the end of the day, our politicians must come to the point where we understand that we are in office for the people. And if that does not sync with our politicians, we'll continue to have this crisis on and on.
All right,
lovely
gentlemen.
Conversation, Mr. Reverend Fred, and of course, Mr. Olusegun, the man who is always here to make sure that.
Let me see if I can sneak in a few comments from YouTube.
Go ahead.
Olumide Alade says the gain from subsidy removal in Nigeria seems to favor the government, not the people. State governors now receive more funds, yet ordinary citizens are paying the price. Building a house has become almost impossible. Money that once completed a full house can no longer even lay the foundation. Pius Amako says, thank you very much, Pius Amako. He's greeting, and then he says, now, the issue of tax is, what is the tax being used for? Here in my estate at Aja, we built our roads, did our water and electricity ourselves, pay for our security. So what are we paying for, please? And the accountability is another issue. In developed countries, they are being told with accountability what the individual's taxes are paying for. I know someone who was refunded for being overtaxed.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard that too. I heard that in, is it Australia or where?
Yeah, there is a window for it here. Just that trust average government will lock that door and go
and throw the key into the sea.
Gentlemen, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you to our virtual audience, our guests who have joined us physically and virtually. We'll continue the conversations with you tomorrow. Remember to tune in from 7 a.m. live. Jasiri comes up next. We'll see you again on Thursday. I'm Olive Emodi.
And I'm Johansson. Thanks for watching.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.